Welcome back to the Squatter Camp podcast. Salute there, squatters. I hope you guys are good. Back with another one. As we continue with the engagement, we saw what happened in Parliament, and I want to show you this clip. This is the diversity of politics, that the enemies are now becoming friends, working together. I'm referring to the EFF and the Democratic Alliance. And the friends are now becoming enemies, Democratic Alliance and ANC, and all of that. It's chaotic. It's been chaotic. But I'll just quickly suggest that we watch this short clip. It's just a 1-minute clip. Then we can quickly engage. What is your view on this? And I'm going to tell you my view, actually, how I feel about this whole thing. Whether we are this side or this side, eventually we had to move on. I'll watch this clip, then I'll get back to you. We'll talk.
Is as follows. There were no abstentions. 182 voted against, and 194 voted in favor. Order, honorable members.
Welcome back, squatters. We've just seen the footage of people celebrating. I'm not actually sure if they are celebrating everything that's in the budget, including the increase of VAT, or they are actually celebrating that at least we could move on from the issue that has been the bone of contention for the whole country. People were just developing anxiety, wanting to know what is going to happen and all of that. Quickly, let me give you my view. Politics will always be politics. The increase of VAT is a horrible thing to South Africans. It's bad news because even now, as we speak, life is so difficult. We are struggling to make ends meet as South Africans, average South Africans, people who are normally employed, people who are normally unemployed, who are staying in slums, squatter camp, township, wherever you are from. But this whole thing, it is actually going to affect the poor of the poorest. That's my main concern. Another thing that I want to highlight is that the social grants has been increased, and the ANC government is so smart. They increase the VAT and they increase the social grants, and as if they are diverting that money to the social grants, and disability grants and all of that. Yes, the ANC did a good thing by increasing those grants. Yes, we agree. But the issue of VAT, why do you keep on hammering poor South Africans? Because this one, it will not actually affect ordinary millionaires who are running around with Ferraris and Lamborghinis the whole day. It's going to actually affect the poor of the poorest. That's my main concern. And another thing, I think South Africans are not really actually concerned about the VAT increase. They are concerned about the corruption which continues to be perpetuated by politicians. So it is the same way. The money that we are going, because it means more money to the government if they increase the VAT. Now the money that they are going to generate, extra money that they are going to generate, still they will continue to steal it. They will still continue with the same system of triple BEE, which is benefiting the people who are affiliated with the politicians or who have got close proximity to politicians, their friends, their families, their girlfriends, their side chicks, and all of this. So those are the systems that never really benefited all black South Africans. They benefited certain people who are close, who are having close connection with politicians. So in this specific argument of the budget speech, whether it was going to be held, to be pushed under the carpet and be reserved and gather dust there, waiting for this whole politics up and down and all of that, we were eventually going to be stuck. So either way, we had to get the budget speech passed. So the Democratic Alliance, the EFF, they are going to court to stop that and all of that. We appreciate it, but I feel more like it's a little bit of waste of time, because there's a clip, a voice note that has been leaked about Cyril Ramaphosa saying the GNU can jump to the nearest hack via the DA. If the DA feels they are tired with this GNU thing, they can just pack their bags and leave. Simple as that. So politically, Cyril Ramaphosa is tired with what he has started, the GNU thing, which was never really a GNU. It was just an arranged marriage between two political parties, which the marriage was instructed by the investors because they want to benefit somehow. Yes, they continue to benefit, but the marriage is suffering. The marriage is hitting the rocks. So the marriage has to come to an end, and no partner is willing to fill in for a divorce, to separate with the other partner. The other partner is still the other partner. If you want to leave, be the first to propose that. Even the other partner, also the ANC, is saying, if DA, you want to leave, be the first one to propose that. So either way, this is some kind of a failed marriage, which we are just waiting for an official date of the marriage to fail. By the way, on this budget speech, it was a test, a political test, that these two political parties, the thing is, Democratic Alliance wants to rule, wants to control, wants to be in charge. We all know that they feel like they are special, they are super special, they're behaving like slave queens in this GNU thing. It was the NHI thing, it was, land expropriation bill and all of this. So I don't really buy into DA's story, because they even opposed legitimate things, which we could see that these things might actually benefit Black South Africans who are poor. So for them to say whatever they want to say, to do whatever they want to do, to file court papers, to approach the High Court and whatsoever, that is their baby. But the budget speech has been passed. Actually, it was proposed by the Action SA, Herman Mashal. Maybe he was really tired to say, listen, we have been on this issue constantly. Yes, there are issues that needs to be attended. There are issues that the parliament should push. So in my own view, whether we like it or not, we had to go through this. So whether we wanted this budget speech to be returned, to be changed, to be whatsoever, the ANC had already decided. And they feel like they're in charge, no one will actually challenge them, then they are going to pass this. Then they did anyway. With the support of these smaller parties, the Mushimaimani Party, and also all these other, maybe Patriotic Alliance, by the way, I believe Gayton is also on this, because Gayton told the Democratic Alliance steners and that, listen, if you guys wanna leave, you can just fill in your resignation and leave. By the way, this issue, it's not a one-sided issue. You can't give an answer in one sentence. I am also undecisive in this whole matter. But either way, we had to move on. Either way, we had to have a budget speech approved and all of that. So whether we liked it or not, and I appreciate the fact that at least our grannies, at least the disability community, at least the social grants has been increased. That's why I'm saying the ANC always uses those tactics to say, we add here and we're going to give this other side, so that the grannies wouldn't really have much of concern. And by the way, if we say the VAT should not be increased, right, as a matter of maybe for argument's sake, and then at the same time, the grants, the social grants, the disability grants had been increased. So where is the government going to source the money? I'm not sure, really. Maybe mathematics is not on my side. Maybe they do have enough to actually be able to maintain the increment of the social grants and disability grants without even increasing the VAT. So I'm on this whole thing, I'm just worried about the VAT versus the social grant, disability grants, and all of it. Other things I'm not concerned about. And also, my concern is corruption. Corruption is one thing that is keeping our country, always we find ourselves behind because of corruption and corruption and corruption. So at least if they fix, which is something that I don't think the ANC will actually, we know that the ANC has been corrupt for the longest time. In fact, since they came into government in 1994, corruption, that's when the official corruption of black comrades who are now the middle class, who don't care about the poor, who always think for themselves and self-enrichment, they are self-centered and all of that. There's nothing we can do. There's not much we can do. Some of these issues, they are petty issues that we'll talk about them now, and then the next moment we'll forget. By the way, let me advise an average South African who's trying to make a living. Check your lifestyle. You need to reduce, you need to cut off on many other things, especially social activities, because those are the activities that are actually exhausting your budget. You need to limit certain things. You need to limit eating out. You need to cut off certain things so that you can be able to manage your life, because life is going to be tough actually. Life will be very difficult as soon as this VAT is implemented. Then we are going to obviously face those difficult circumstances. But ordinary South Africans, cut on many things. Cut on alcohol, cut on smoking, cut on all other social activities. Yes, do, but don't do much, or don't do it as much as you used to do. Have some savings, have some kind of investments, downgrade on your car that you drive. If you're driving a big SUV car, you need to downgrade. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are living in a big house, maybe you own that house, you can sell that house, in return buy a smaller house whatsoever. If your kids are attending expensive schools, you need to at least downgrade. And those are the things that actually the middle class, black middle class, they are not willing to cut off. They are not willing to compromise. They want to continue enjoying life, going to parties, drinking alcohol, smoking, driving that big car, which is consuming a lot of gasoline. And, it's not an economic car. Staying in that big house or in those expensive complexes where you're going to pay something like 15K for a whatsoever 2-3 bedroom because you've got kids and all that. You need to downgrade and go to a smaller place, or even an average place, which is maybe part of similar, but there are some sort of compromises that maybe, the area is not that high class and all of, as black people, I know we like class. We like saying, no, I'm staying in fan, I'm staying 4 ways, I'm staying, let's cut off on those things and try to live as minimalists, because yes, we need to minimize many things, because if you don't cut off on those things, if you don't work on your habit, if you are having a habit of saying, I've got a credit card, I can spend this money. Credit card is not your money, by the way. That money belongs to the bank. As soon as you spend it, you're going to have to repay it with interest. So we need to be financially smart. We need to make sure that we cut off on many things that are actually not really necessities. There's a difference between a need and a want. You need to cut off. If you've got friends who are pushing you to overspend on a weekend, just unfriend those people. Let them be. Because I can tell you now, you will not survive on this 16% VAT increase. You will not do that. You will not be able to survive. Some of us, we are used to this life. Some of us, we are minimalists. Some of us, we are living simple lives, and all of that is plomekasi, and we that's where we belong. So most people, they will actually struggle on this because they are not used to this thing. And they are used to driving big cars. They are used to spending. They are used to having 5 girlfriends and all of that. That's okay, bro. You're going to sort it out. You're going to have to make sure that that one, you deal with it. That's your baby. You need to feed it. So, but the reality is that life is going to be difficult. We need to adjust, especially when it comes to finances. We need to adjust. Don't take too many unnecessary credits. What are you doing with credits? Some people just like owing. They like owing. Oh, I owe something. They take credits on clothes. They take credits on... No, be a minimalist. There's nothing wrong. They can laugh at you. Maybe you are used to being, a putmadlisa and, always shining and always having, new clothes and all of that. It's not necessary, by the way. As long as you are clean, you are neat, you're going to work. If you're working, You wake up every morning, you're fresh, you're clean, you're going to work. There's no one who is going to judge you. Sometimes we put unnecessary pressure on us. We need to cut off, because the government now is sending a very strong message to us that, listen, you need to monitor your life. You need to cut certain things. And by the way, people who are employed will attest to this. Employees pay heavy tax more than any other. Even business people, they don't pay tax as much as we do. It's questionable. By the way, we need to cut off on many things so that we can be able to survive. Other than that, you will not make it. Thank you very much, squatters. That's my view, that either way, we had to pass it. So I don't blame Action SA. I don't blame Abu Musi Maimani. I don't blame Abu Gaten McKenzie. It had to happen either way. So the issue of it's 2%, it's 1%, it's 3%, whatsoever the percentages, I think that's why we could maybe kind of argue, maybe they could have at least made it 1% or whatsoever. But at the end of the day, they were planning to increase the VAT. At the same time, they've added extra. That's what I appreciate on my side. I know that ANC is very notorious. ANC is one of those useless parties. But on this one, I can barely agree with Ndate Enoch Godlongwana that at least you thought about people who are vulnerable, because the disabled people with physical challenges are the most vulnerable people. Let's be honest. Our grandmothers and grandfathers are the most vulnerable people. They can't work, they can't find employment and all of that. Kids, minors are the most vulnerable people. So either way, I do have a complaint, I do have a query. I am actually not really happy about this budget thing. But at the same time, I'm thinking about the elders. I'm thinking about the disabled. I'm thinking about the minors who are vulnerable, who can't work. At least people who are adults, we can run businesses, we can work, we can do whatever we want to do, especially people who do not have physical challenges. That's my view, squatters. I don't know. Let's continue to engage. I want to hear from you how you feel about this whole thing, because either way, it's either you are this side or you're this side. But it had to happen. Thank you, squatters.